Okay. Okay, I'll open a meeting up for October 10th, for the County Commissioners meeting. And the item on the agenda is public input. Anybody? Yes.
I would just like to report on the Friends of Mountain View held a fundraising dinner at the Joseph Spaghetti Shed in Glen, and it was a rousing success. We were just so pleased with all the people that showed up from all areas of the county. I mean, there were waiting lines at the door.
Really?
Yeah, and people donated items for us to raffle. It was just, I was humbled.
Great.
By all the people that came. So I just want to thank everybody that showed up for that. I mean, we didn't make a huge amount of money, but we did make some money for the group. And but like I said, I was just so humbled by all the people that came to support us.
I thought it was really nice. They had it on their bulletin board outside, so that people knew what was happening when they went in.
Yeah, and it was on their website too. So, but I mean, everybody, all the publicity we tried to do, the word of mouth things. I mean, everybody picked it up and passed it on and put it. It was on TV. It was on websites. It was on Facebook. I mean, I don't have a Facebook account, so I have no idea. But I was just really humbled and blessed by everybody's response to that. So I just thought it was, I mean, it's a little more money so we can put towards helping the residents in their homes. So
Great.
I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
And thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Babs.
I have a longer list this morning. Last week I asked if there were any possibility of getting a public router up here so that we could use our electronic gadgets here, and I'd like to ask Commissioner Solomon and Commissioner Kenney if they spoke to anybody about it.
I spoke to Mr. Rich about that. And
How about you, Commissioner Kenney?
About the router, Commissioner Solomon said she was going to look into that.
Okay.
I'll tell you what he told me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had an answer so quick.
Oh, yes, I have an
You
answer.
cut her off.
I'm sorry.
The Wi-Fi that's in here is for the use of the public health system. And in order to get the general public to be able to use it, then you would have to hook into their system. And that way, he felt it would put their system or their information at jeopardy. And he said he didn't think it would be a good idea. They would have to give you their password, in other words.
It probably could be done, but there'd be a cost involved.
I mean, a router, if your home is $70, I would think that somehow here you must be plugged in and have outlets around here. I'm not
I'm just
on this stuff, but
I'm just telling you what I was told.
I believe that. Sometime back, this came up I believe last week, Commissioner Sorensen, while you weren't here, about putting the budget on the website.
I looked into that as well.
Is that moving forward?
It should be on it.
No, not just the one single page.
No, the whole thing.
I spoke with Kathy Gary about that, and she said she asked a similar thing, not the one page. She said that was on it, and she said that she would try to get that done, and she would have to go through the resource people upstairs. Here.
I had asked regarding that. I had told Janice to put that on the whole business, and she said she would.
I think that was
done
a great idea. At
least 2 weeks ago.
Good, thank you. The thermostats, has any resolution been made on that?
Yes.
I hope we're not paying to move them.
Well, yes and no. As in yes and no about payment. What has happened is they have been moved. They were billed, and I have instructed that the bill be sent to the engineer. We'll see what happens here.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's yes and partly no. Good, that's good.
Was that why it was so hot? well, the nursing home was hot. Remember when Bob Murray came in? He said that people were complaining that.
That was, that you mean during the summer? I don't know, but I don't think so. But I don't know. That question didn't come up, so I didn't ask.
Okay.
And I guess that's it, thank you.
A couple. So, yeah, last week, if I remember correctly, our interim nursing home director said that time was of the essence in hiring a new director and getting that established because the budget season was coming up and there's some deadlines and the end of the contract is the end of October. Now, if you put it off another week and then it takes 2 weeks for somebody to give notice, I mean, are you really running into a time crunch here?
I'm not sure I understand what deadline he was referring to.
And an anonymous caller called me today, yesterday, and said that some jail inmate was treated with excessive force and was tased 4 times even though he was on a stretcher.
Who called you?
An anonymous tipster.
And said what?
Said that there was an inmate coming in on a stretcher, and then a jail corrections officer tased him 4 times even though he was strapped in.
So what do you want to know?
Well, I was just wondering if that happened and what the commissioners plan to do about it. Is the sheriff's office going to investigate? Is there any investigation going on?
No investigation going on.
Did that actually happen? Do you know?
Well, we can't talk about it. It was in a non-public.
Was there any decision? Was anybody terminated?
Excuse me?
Was anybody terminated?
We can't talk about it.
Okay.
Anything further?
Yeah, I just noticed that the locked car policy must be in effect. I saw the sign on the door.
Oh, I thought you checked I thought you went around checking doors.
No. I saw the sign on the door on the entrance saying "Please lock your car." I didn't know that had been approved. I thought that was just still in.
I don't know what happened last week. My understanding was that we were going to encourage people to lock their car.
Okay.
And keep keys off the seat and so forth. I don't think I wasn't going to make it a policy anyway. I don't know what happened last week, whether it was or not.
We didn't do anything last week with regard to that, but it's not an unusual policy to have.
No, I'm not faulting it or anything. I was just curious. I thought it was just in limbo. So I was surprised to see the sign on it.
Well, given that was a suggestion,
yeah.
That suggestion didn't seem to be anything that had to be voted on. It seemed like a suggestion, and if it was done, it was fine.
Okay.
There was some talk about it a couple of weeks ago that we actually suggested and moving forward with a sign.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Babson.
The last question was, last week while Mr. Chandler?
Yes, this
is
his name. Yes.
Was here. For years we've heard, or I believe we've heard, that when residents from our county or in other county nursing homes, that we pay for it. He came in this week and said there is no billing whatsoever for other residents in other counties. Is there any record kept that we're not sending more to some other county, or more counties are sending people to here? Or I mean, this is completely opposite of what we've been told for my last 20 years here.
May I'll be glad to answer that. At least I'll try to answer it.
Okay.
I discussed this with Kathy Gary, and I also discussed it on Friday with Betsy Miller of New Hampshire Association of Counties. What happened several years ago was that it was decided by the state, by Department of Health and Human Services, that they would ease up the problems that were arising because of, checking to see if your person was in another county and that somebody from another county was in your county, etc. And they came up with a formula so that each county pays a particular formula price or cost for the nursing home. It's not just nursing home. It's nursing home. It has to do with care outside the nursing home, etc. Anybody on Medicaid. And so what they did was come up with this formula, and everybody pays a percentage cost to state, and that is how it works now. That eliminates an enormous amount of paperwork and scrutiny that has to go into checking to see how many residents you have in one or another county, and it avoids all of that turmoil, and it seems to be working. With regard to those who are out of state, however, that's a whole different story, and those things are still tracked.
Do you know what the formula is, Commissioner Sullivan?
The essential parts of the formula? No, I'm afraid I don't. But it was something that came up that was agreed upon by all of the counties.
Not by the delegations of the counties, but by the commissioners?
That I couldn't tell you.
Well, I know
Before my time.
Before us, so.
Before my time, so I couldn't tell you.
Thank you.
But I would say that Carroll County is, from our average billings, are the lowest cost.
When you say average billings, what are you talking about?
The bill, how they bill us, how the New Hampshire Association, excuse me.
How the bill comes from
Yeah.
the Health and Human Services
Yes.
for our portion.
Right.
Okay. And it's low?
Yeah, it's the lowest.
Do you have the
Yeah.
other counties there?
Yep.
Is it on a monthly basis or an
No, it's
annual
yearly.
basis?
It's a yearly basis. Well, actually, this is a 3-year billing average that they have here.
But we only pay on a yearly basis?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Could I look at that at some time?
Sure.
Anybody else got any public input? If not, it's 8:45. Will, you're on, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just have a couple quick things. Thank you. Started cutting wood yesterday. We've had all our wood delivered out that was processed from the spring or last fall, delivered out. We've got a few more customers that we've got to get to, so we're processing for them, and then we'll be continuing to process throughout the fall to put up stuff for
So
next
this is bucking up the wood that was delivered? No?
What? I'm sorry, I missed that
Is it
question.
started cutting wood this week?
Yeah, we've got logs in. We've had, I got a roll of logs that came in last year. I try to be on top
Okay.
of having
Yep.
the logs, so that's what we're cutting up and stacking.
I thought you might be started cutting on our land.
No, that's
Okay.
a wishful thought, but no.
Okay.
Just a quick question, because this has come up before. The cost of wood when we put it out to private people is not undercutting the public?
No.
Okay.
I'm getting $275 a cord. That's a delivered price, and it's probably right now. It's probably on the high side.
Okay. Thank you.
When we get snowfall, the private vendors tend to raise their prices, but right now it's probably on the high side.
Thank you.
We had the state inspector come in for we had 2 of them actually come in for the wastewater department almost 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Everything was great. They had a good visit. They toured everything, checked it all out. They were happy to see what they saw. So that went good. The we're still working on some things, some minor things, and mostly in the sewer department. A few things in the water department that we're getting ready for the fall. The sewer department has got a few more minor things. Nothing that's, putting us out of business right now. It's just minor things that add up after time that we're taking the time to try to correct those.
Did we get a written report?
I don't think so. I have to ask, because this one wasn't, they come and they do like a formal visit, and then this was supposed to be kind of like an informal visit because the designer, who doesn't normally come out, came out this time. Mr. Mitch Locker, he came and talked to the delegation, I believe, regarding the laundry thing here about a year ago. That gentleman, he helped design our system, but he hasn't normally come out, but he decided to come out on a visit. So I'll have to double check on the paperwork, but I don't think it was a formal one like it usually is, more of an informal for his visit.
Hey, anytime somebody comes, just ask if they're going to give you a written report.
Right, we usually do. Working on the pole barn. We've got yesterday we got all the metal brackets put onto the concrete that we put out there. So we're pretty much all ready to go because Friday is the guys coming with the sawmill to mill out our poles. So I'm hoping next week to start putting up poles and get going on this project. My goal is to, if everything goes good, to have that done before too far into the winter here. One of the other important things that's happened is Wayne McBrien had put in for some waivers. There's different things that the state allows us to get a waiver form not to test on our water system. There's certain common things, and they allow, if you put in a waiver, if you've gotten such a good track record of not having these things in your water, then they allow you to put these waivers in, so you don't have to test for them every year. You can go maybe 3 years before you got to test them, which tends to save you a lot of money when you're able to get out of those. Some of those are very expensive tests. We've ran into a batch of them here the last 2 years where the waivers didn't get redone years ago, and like one of them is good for 6 years, I believe. So we're past that. We tested everything out good, so now we've got the waivers again, and we're figuring that it's probably somewhere between $6,000 to $8,000 over the 6-year period of testing that we would normally have to pay for that we're getting waived. That doesn't mean.
Are you saying that the waivers were approved or that they were sent in?
They were approved. They were sent in, and we got the approval back.
Good.
So that's all approved. So I don't want to give it a misconception that we're not testing things to folks. We still are, but there's certain couple of things that the state allows you to go every 3 or 6 years, different things, and that's what I'm talking about, not the everyday common stuff. And another thing, just to update, I talked about it a couple weeks ago when I was here, that there's some different things that I'm probably going to be budgeting for this year. Unfortunately, we're going to need a new compressor out in the sewer system. The compressor, just to give a quick explanation of what it does, it's out in a vault that's out in the fields, out by the wood pile. It puts pressure on these valves and to keep them closed, and when the Gorman-Rupp station sends out the water, it's basically like 10 big septic fields out there, and when the Gorman-Rupp sends water out there, it pops one of those open, and then when the Gorman-Rupp gets down to a certain point, it closes that again, and then the next one opens the next time it needs to kick on, and so on and so forth, rotates. So you got to have the compressor in there to keep the pressure on. The thing's 13 years old. Unfortunately, we've put some things into this in the last 2 years. We put a new motor in it. We put a new compressor motor and an electric motor into it, and now it's got a pinhole leak in the tank. So it's those are kind of hard. We've talked to some experts about possibly getting it welded, or we can't really weld down in there, but getting some kind of patch. And they said most of the time, by the time you got a pinhole leak, the inside is so bad anyways, 9 out of 10 times it doesn't work. So I think what we need to do is budget next year. We're estimating $1,200 to $1,500 with all incidental to get a new one. The rough part about it is it's like 10 feet down into this vault, so it's not like, and it's a huge, the compressor's 5 foot tall almost, so it's not like you can just hand it down to somebody and on the ladder. It's going to be a little challenge to get the old one out and the new one put in. So
you're talking about a whole complete system, not just a tank.
Right, we're going to get the whole thing, and then what we're going to try to do is get something comparable to what we have now, so that way we could take those newer parts that we have, we could take those off for spares to repair the new one if we need to. But we're better off probably just getting a whole unit instead of trying to mix and match things up.
So when you talk about $1,200 to $1,500 with the new compressor, does that include labor to put it in?
I'm thinking that it's going to be around, we haven't done exact numbers yet, but I'm thinking $1,100 to $1,200 to buy the compressor, and that's why I said the incidentals. I'm going to add on a few hundred in case I have to have the electrician come in and do some wiring, or if I have to hire someone. I don't know if we can use the backhoe to lower it down, or if I got to hire someone that comes out with one of those little cranes on their trucks or hoist or whatever to hoist it down. I'm not sure yet. So I wanted to put a little buffer there in case we need it. So you'll probably, when we get to budget time, I'll probably be talking somewhere around $1,500 that I'm going to put in, and if there's extra left over, there's extra. But I want to make sure we have enough to get that put in.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all I
Are
have.
there any other items that you're thinking of for capital expenditures?
Capital expenditures,
Yeah.
I was going to put this as a new equipment because this is
Okay.
a sewer department. Capital expenditures, there's some research I'm doing that I'd like to present to the commissioners, and as we get closer.
Mhm.
I got to nail down a little more research on it before I'd like to discuss it, but
Okay,
there'll be a few things.
okay. The sooner the better.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody got any
Before,
questions?
yeah, just before you leave, it's not a question. I just wanted to let you know that when I'm on the campaign trail and I bring up the farm and you get lots of kudos out there.
Oh.
So you're doing a great job, and people are recognizing that.
Oh, good, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you,
Have a good
Roy.
day.
How many inmates did you have out recently?
We're right around 5, I believe, right now.
So it's
5.
working better, you're having more inmates?
Yes, oh yeah, that's helped out tremendously.
Okay, thank you.
Varies between 4 to 6, so I'm averaging 5.
Okay. Mr. Chandler?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, in addition to the policy, I have a few brief things just to update you about, none requiring action, but good for you to know. Census today is 102, of whom 6 are Medicaid or skilled. We're ready for, the MDS coordinator position is now ready for interview, so we think that'll be proceeding. I'm rewriting the beauty shop contracts in preparation for bringing in additional stylists. The present stylist is cutting back hours, and we're actually getting some complaints from residents and their families that the stylist isn't available when she needs to be. So we're going to be complementing that with 1 or 2 other people.
Do we have a contract with her?
Not that I can discover.
We don't.
And so I've rewritten.
We don't?
I don't think so, but have rewritten the basis of one, which is actually straightforward, and I'd be glad to present it to you. But the essence of it is that we don't charge the stylist booth time. But I don't know what the present policy is, and it seems to be vague. My understanding is that right now the stylist is able to accept tips. My recommendation is that in lieu of the fact that we don't charge her for the use of our major equipment in the space, that she not charge tips, and that we approve what the rates can be charged are, which would be equal to or less than the prevailing rates. So that it should still be an attractive proposition, but I don't like the idea of residents ever feeling that they need to tip in order to get good service. It's not consistent.
No, that's right.
Is it inappropriate to ask what the person's name is?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I've gone up trying to find her. Apparently she's changed her hours and cut them back, and they never seem to coincide with mine. So I don't know who's there presently.
Okay. I have her name somewhere, but I just...
And there's no complaints about the quality of her service. I think it's her cutting back or finding other, but we need to have somebody that's available,
Sure.
with more hours.
We own all the equipment and everything that's in that room, right?
We own all the large equipment,
Yeah,
but
not
I've in fact went up yesterday to kind of look. Part of what I want to require is that whoever comes in brings in their own supplies
Right.
and all their own personal equipment, all the portable things that's typical, so that especially if we have more than one operator, more than one stylist, that they're all using their own blow dryers, their own things that they're welcome to leave there, and some will carry their combs, and especially people have special special shears, special scissors. They usually like to bring them with them. But they should be providing anything. We shouldn't have to provide anything other than the chair and the dryers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking of getting more than one person there, would it be on a rotating basis, or would there be more than, would the room be able to hold more than one stylist at a time?
Went up to inspect yesterday, and while there are 2 dryers, there's only 1 chair, so that the idea would be getting essentially 2 part-time people.
Mhm.
Part of what I'm trying to look at with every position there is a certain amount of redundancy. Residents need their hair styled, whether somebody is sick or on vacation, and so it's always good to have a minimum of 2 people, just as backup, because things change. So I'd rather have 2 part-time people than 1 full-time people, and we have a lead on at least a couple of people who are very interested on a part-time basis.
And you mentioned something, I might have missed it, but you said something about accepting, she accepts tips. Is this going to continue, this process?
Unless you directed me differently, I would like to have a policy where the hairdresser, the stylist cannot accept tips. And I think that's only fair and reasonable, because we're also not charging, in some other facilities, in some other nursing homes, the nursing home will actually charge the operator 10% of what she collects in terms of essentially as a rental fee. We're presently not doing that, and I'm not recommending that we do, but the fact that we're not puts us in a position of being able to dictate terms, as it were, that she also shouldn't accept tips. At the end of the day, the stylist would come out pretty much at the same point, whether you pay 10% or get 10% extra in tips, or 15%. It's still a good deal, but it's in keeping with the values of the place.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't want somebody who doesn't have the money to feel that they can't.
Are you looking at the cost also?
Well, we would control the costs.
We do.
And the charges, well, we would insist that they be posted prices, and that they be no more and ideally less than prevailing rates in the community. So we don't want any of our residents to feel exploited by virtue of being there. So we want it to be as, so typically what I've done in the past is to actually sample, where are the places people would go to get those prices, and the average of those prices becomes the rate that we would set, so that it would always be a relative value or benefit to our residents.
Okay.
Plan of correction for the state inspection is being prepared. I'm going to submit that.
Could we receive a report? Did you give the Board of Commissioners a report last week?
I didn't, but I'll be glad to get you a copy of the actual state. I did report what the issues were. There were 2. There were failure to accurately document what's called a brief interview mental status on two residents. And there was also a rather odd one where the director of nursing wasn't able to attend a QA meeting, had a qualified substitute in her place, but that was considered, and I guess when you look at it in the details, it does not comply. It's a little strange, but both are easy to fix and address. None had negative outcomes or any effect on resident quality of care or services. So it's actually a wonderful inspection. It's not as wonderful as not having any deficiencies, but there was no deficiency that even approached being of a material nature or basis.
This Q&A, can you go into any further information on it? Where does that person go, and what is this Q&A program?
Well, the state requires us to 4 times a year to quarterly have a quality assurance meeting that needs to be multidisciplinary and involve a physician, nursing supervisor, activity, multiple staff, and specifically the director of nursing. It was assumed at the time last year that meant director of nursing or her designee. At that time, Becky was on vacation and her designee was Patty Kane. And Patty, who's perfectly well qualified to be doing this, but the state noted that it was not Becky's name on one quarterly report, and that was enough for them to write us up. And it seems petty, but a rule is a rule, and so that we and we'll address that by being sure that if the director of nursing isn't able to attend the meeting for whatever reason, the meeting will be rescheduled. And so it's easy enough.
So this is
manage.
an in-house meeting.
This is in-house. This is one that we have to,
Yeah.
and quality assurance is designed to always be looking to see what we can be doing better by measuring things that might be problematic, whether that's falls, adverse reactions to medications, any number of things that could affect resident quality. So it's, in the state's position is that the director of nursing is most often the one that's most closely responsible for ensuring that they don't want to have a situation where the director of nursing can say, I didn't know about it or wasn't there.
Okay. The MDS coordinator, how many applicants did we have?
There are 3 applicants, including one internal one. And, I guess there were 4 applicants. Becky didn't consider one or more of them to be actually qualified. So I think there are 3 that can be considered in an interim candidate who is by most measures the strongest candidate at this point.
And our resource person is involved in that?
Yes.
Okay.
And when are you planning on having this, the interviews?
Well, met with Becky today, got a preliminary report back from Janice yesterday, so our hope is, actually the interim candidate has been away for 2 weeks on family medical leave, so that now we'd like to start scheduling interviews as soon as possible. She'll be back on Thursday, so it could be as early as this week that we'd be able to start those interviews.
And there's somebody now who's doing this?
Lisa is doing it now. She was the backup.
I know, but Lisa's out.
Well, she'll be back on Thursday. We had somebody in
That's
on
what I'm
Friday
referring to,
from, now I'm forgetting the name of the
Axelrod?
consultant's firm, but on Friday to catch up on the MDS. So we look to be in pretty good shape. She did discover that we do have a problem with apparently some outdated software. This is the same firm that we wanted to come in to do an audit because we...
Axelrod.
Exactly, Axelrod, because and she discovered on Friday that we actually have some inherent problems with how we transmit the essentially requests for payments, the MDS data sheets, data sets, and we'll be working with Lisa on that on Thursday when she gets back to help correct that.
Okay.
Other things we have, bids are being solicited for additional resident lifts. I've had telephone conversations with two other companies on that, and their formal bids should be forthcoming soon.
Could you explain that? I'm not sure I quite get that.
The commission has asked me to get multiple bids. Came to you with a request for additional patient lifts.
Yep.
Because we're actually tapped out, as it were. We have 103 beds,
Right.
but only 26 lifts. And so we're using all 25 or 26. And the commissioners want, because they can average in cost, I'm hoping to get them up for under $3,000 a piece, and it's tracking that way. But to get multiple bids to be able to put before you.
Yep.
I'm still, maybe I'm just missing something here. Bids for what?
Oh, these
For the lifts.
This is
lifts.
The lifts.
Yeah.
I thought you said lists. Okay.
Oh, no, lists.
Okay.
And
All
it's-
right. Now I understand.
And you have a truly remarkable place, because in terms of putting in that track for each and every room, it has tremendous foresight. It costs more to put the track in than it does to buy the lift. And you've done that ahead of time, which makes this whole process easy and flexible.
Yeah. You're proposing how many additional?
Well, we're down to want to see if we can't get any special deals. But it would be nice to have 2, 3, or 4, depending how far in the availability of money.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of 5 or less, depending on costs and what you consider is affordable.
You mentioned last week about refurbished.
Correct. And there are a number of lifts that came out of Peter Ben Brigham Hospital that have been refurbished with new unit warranty, and also I'm assured that are cosmetically the same as new. So I mean, they look good and they're guaranteed, and that could well be a very attractive option. Truth is, in order to save backs, this is to provide convenience to residents, but it's also to provide safety for staff. I'd rather have 3 refurbished ones instead of having 1 new one, if it comes down to about that ratio.
Same brand, same make?
Different brand, but compatible.
Are we going to get into trouble of getting parts or something later on?
Well, it'd be actually provided, the ones that are refurbished would be provided by New England Medical, which is the same group that provided the original ones. They actually recommend them, and they actively service both.
Mhm. Okay.
So I should have I'm hoping within a week or so to have a formal presentation for you.
Okay.
Had a preliminary meeting yesterday, which is the first to really kind of reestablish the social service department. And I know that social service issues have been an issue before. The meeting went very well, very productive. So, I'm not saying that all issues are done, but it looks from an operating and from a resident care perspective that we have a good working relationship, and starting fresh has been helped. But that first meeting went very well.
Is it a balanced work? What I want to say is the work balanced, equal, shared by the two?
Well, it's the two positions are not equally balanced because one position also has admissions.
Mm-hmm.
So one position is exclusively social service and has responsibility for about 2/3 of the caseload, and 1/3 is with the second person who also balances that with admissions.
Mm-hmm.
It seems from anything that I've seen to be now, I can't tell you that the two people ever consider it to be a natural distribution, but in terms of acceptable workload in the marketplace, it's well within parameters of what others are expected to do.
Okay.
So it's a reasonable assignment for both. I'm less clear at this point exactly how much work and time goes into the admissions part. Although admissions is critical.
It's critical.
It's a delay in admission hurts a resident and hurts revenue.
Both of them are critical.
They are.
Really.
But I think and I think we've taken the personality part out of it in dealing with issues. And because there's a tendency, there's no room for that. We need to be professional, and people are acting eminently professional. They're good people in there, and they're doing well. Okay. So it was productive. And the last thing, other than the admission policy part I have for you, is that flu shot clinics are underway.
Yes.
And it's interesting that the 2 staff members who didn't get the flu shot last year got the flu.
Huh.
So if people want to ask you about the efficiency or the effectiveness of flu shots, it used to be, going back 20 years ago, of questionable value. It's no longer questionable. It's really important. And in a closed setting like Mountain View, it ends up being very critical. So we strongly encourage all staff to get flu shots, and residents, of course, too.
Are you aware that the Merriman House has some kind of an issue there where they're locked down?
No, but I would bet that typically ends up being a Mercer type of infection. But
I don't know what it is, but there's something happened there. And I don't know with the other nursing homes. Have you attended any of the affiliate meetings with other nursing home administrators?
Well, not of the county home,
Okay.
but actually we're a founding member of the not-for-profit group that includes nursing homes, and so meet with them. But
you haven't heard anything from them?
No, in fact, everybody keeps it real quiet.
I'm sure they do.
That's nothing that you tell other places, because they don't want anybody to know. My guess is that it would more typically be Mercer. But that's important to know. I don't believe we have any, not to my knowledge, do we have staff that are working in both places. But I'm glad you mentioned it, because we want to be real sure that if there are staff that are working in both places, that we be sure that they're.
I don't know what it is.
Vehicle.
It was a rumor that was passed on to me, so.
Well, when you have typically 3 or more people with an infection for a period of at least 48 hours, the state will actually require you not to take any admissions.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's called lockdown. Sometimes a true lockdown is also no visitors and special precautions for visitors or no visitors.
Okay. I just wanted you to
No, I
be aware
appreciate
of
that.
Anyway.
The only thing I have is, and want to note that in the draft of the recommendations that I gave you, a notable editorial error on the 2nd page of the cover letter. One should never proofread their own paperwork. But on the 2nd page, the 2nd paragraph up, the word "not" should be deleted. So the purpose of the policy is to provide. It's not.
Excuse me, I left all my paperwork at home. Do you have an extra copy?
I certainly do.
Thank you.
So I crossed it out on your copy, but in the ones that you received last week,
So not,
that should not be there.
okay,
That's-
this is just the profile.
But I leave it to you for what action, if any, you want to or,
Do you want to discuss this?
or need to take in regard to the.
Well,
I think we got a few minutes left. I think we ought to discuss this maybe a little bit better. You
Okay.
have
yeah,
comments? Commissioner?
as I said, I left my paperwork at home, so I had my comments all written out. But basically, I have a problem with a list in order to start with. And secondly, I have a problem with what you start with. From my perspective, and I've spoken to other nursing homes, county nursing home people, I think it should begin that the very first order of importance should be the need of someone to get into the nursing home. I'm not saying that regardless of whether or not they come from Carroll County or not, but I think the first important point would be not whether they're Medicaid eligible or require skilled care or anything like that, but do they have an immediate need to be in a nursing home? Because that's what we're here for.
But that also includes that they be either residents
Oh,
or
I said
residents
that.
of family, okay.
Yeah, I understand, that goes without, that goes without saying.
Okay.
But that's number one. The second thing I have a problem with is how many years they have lived in the community. I've lived in New Hampshire for 17 years. Does that put me on a lower level or a higher level to get into the nursing home? I don't think that's appropriate. I think that if we're talking about people who are residents of New Hampshire, residents of Carroll County, then regardless of whether they've been here for a year or 100 years, they ought to be looked at in the same way.
They are in this
As to whether
policy
their
that way.
needs.
Okay.
This does, it doesn't, so whether, I did for discussion purposes, set a year as being a resident, but it doesn't matter whether you're here a year or
Yeah.
50 years, you'd
Yeah,
be treated the same.
I don't, I don't want it to even imply that you have to have buried, 6 generations before you can be eligible to come into our nursing home. This is for the people of Carroll County, regardless of how long they've been here. Additionally, people get all hung up on this idea of they're not living in the county at the time that they put in for the ability to come into the nursing home. We have here, because of being in particularly because of being in northern part of the state, we have a lot of people who are snowbirds. I have a family who lives in my development who are not living there from November till May, but they they pay their taxes to New Hampshire, to our communities, and they are still New Hampshire residents, as far as I'm concerned, and Carroll County residents, as far as I'm concerned. And therefore, it just, whether or not they're here all year round is of no importance to me. They are county residents, and they should have the same rights as anyone else for a county resident. And as I said, that I left all my other notes at home, so that's all I can remember at the moment.
I think the important thing is based on the need, and that is probably a case-by-case basis that the social worker looks at, interviews them, and so forth. And again, I guess it's a case where, as long as we can provide the service, in some cases we can't provide the service, and therefore they would not be eligible.
Because we should never take somebody that we cannot care for properly.
No, we
Right.
can't.
Right.
And that's critical. The policy does, and I'm not sure that it does it as well as it should, but it does make provision for making exceptions, because there will always be exceptions.
Yeah.
Some of which of a minor nature would be made in-house, but one of exceptional need, it still leaves the commission in the position of having both oversight and the ability to freely make exceptions.
Well, that's another point. I personally, I don't want to micromanage this. We hire people to do this work, you know, to take care of the list and to put people, you know, bring people into the nursing home that need to be there. It's not, I don't believe that it's the commissioner's jobs to micromanage that process. So this is something that I think has to go through a committee in the nursing home, and I believe there is a committee set up for this purpose, to set policy for who comes into the nursing home, etc. The one other thing, and this is very personal to me, about who, whether or not your family, you know, whether it's not, I'm not going into the nursing home, but when my father-in-law needed to be in a nursing home, I think that that even though he came from someplace else, came from another state, I believe that since I am a taxpayer in Carroll County, that he should be given the same opportunity, depending upon need, to come into the nursing home.
If you're the primary caregiver.
Yeah. Since, in this case, my husband was an only child, and therefore it was our responsibility to take care of him. And if he had needs, and you could accommodate those, the nursing home could accommodate those needs, I think that it should not be a question of whether he himself was a resident. Somebody was paying taxes here. It was me.
See, I see it from the administrator end. As long as the rules are clear, what you're talking about is public policy. The fact that you could reduce this number from 14 to 6, that's public policy, but it would still leave, as the administrator and for speaking for staff, with a clear idea of, because if it isn't clear, we don't know whether we're going to meet your expectation or not. So the idea that you can combine categories to treat family members the same as county, that works perfectly well because it's clear.
I didn't see here, and I haven't read it through thoroughly, but recently we've had a couple of issues where they're in another nursing home because our nursing home was full at the time that they needed help. They put them in another nursing home. Now, when does that go in? Where does that fit in this plan that that person might be transferred to our nursing home because they are taxpayers in Carroll County?
Well, they would still be on the list. If they were living in Carroll County before they went to that nursing home, my assumption is we'd be treating them as Carroll County residents.
Yeah.
So they'd be on the waiting list, but rather than waiting, you know, at their home, they're waiting in a, so they would, now they would.
Their needs are being met in another nursing home.
So it wouldn't be urgent.
However, it's not urgent. However, they're requesting that they be transferred to ours because it's closer and we're known to have good health care and so forth.
We should never discriminate against them because they happen to be in another setting.
Yeah.
So that, in fact, it's actually, truth is, it's actually easier to accept somebody from another community than it is for a direct admission from the outside. So, you know, we'd reasonably expect they'd have some priority because they would have applied longer, you know, at an earlier time than others.
Okay. Any further question?
No, I just, I'm just hoping that, you know, we can get this established through a committee at the nursing home and come up with some policy.
Well, and of course, it's a dynamic process, so I wanted to get some early input from you to know what direction to steer this in, lest, you know, didn't want to, but would you like me to take this back to the staff for another revision?
Yes.
Sure.
That.
Asha, any questions?
No, I think the only thing Commissioner Solomon said that is important if there is an immediate need. But also it's important if we can render those services. So the immediate need go whether, you know, they are eligible to come in.
Okay, that's that's all well taken.
I think that Commissioner Sorensen pointed that out.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything in non-public?
I do not, that's all for
Okay,
public.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We did get that item straightened out about the county pays at other nursing homes. Did that get answered, Mr. Babson?
No,
Howie, do you know whether we pay for people to be in other nursing homes?
We
oh,
don't.
that was, excuse me,
Yeah.
last week he said.
What's that?
You didn't, last week, Mr. Chandler said there wasn't any, and that brought up this question here today.
Okay,
The information that I got from Kath Gary is that that was the case, was actually a billing process that went on prior to, I think it was 2008.
Yes.
And at that point, the county entered into an agreement with the state
Yes.
where it's essentially equalized reimbursement, so that a Carroll County resident in the Belknap County home, Carroll County is not charged. If Belknap County has a resident, we also don't receive separate reimbursement. So it's a
okay.
equalized funding.
Yes.
But it explains why people had two different perspectives. It had been the case previously.
Yes, years
But it's no
ago.
longer the case.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chandler.
Thank you.
Jason? Trying to stay on schedule as close as we can. We're running just a little bit late, but that was an item that probably need a little bit of discussion.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This morning we have 50 in, 0 weekenders, 0 out on electronic monitoring, 8 transfers, 3 out on pretrial release for a total population of 61. Took in 21 inmates last week, 10 were repeaters, and 21 were released. Repeater charges, 1 came in for a warrant, booked 4 times in 10 years. 1 for conduct after an accident, booked 2 times in 2 years. 1 for burglary and unlawful possession, booked 3 times in 2 years. 1 for protective custody, criminal mischief, and criminal trespass, booked 12 times in 4 years. 1 for violation of probation, booked 2 times in 13 years. 1 for protective custody, booked 2 times in 2 years. 1 for driving after revocation or suspension, booked 5 times in 5 years. 1 for protective custody, booked 7 times in 2 years. 1 for an electronic bench warrant, booked 6 times in 6 years. And 1 for fraudulent use of a credit card, booked 4 times in 6 years. Last Wednesday, we had a meeting with myself, Bob, Joe, and Jerry to discuss the feasibility of doing countywide service contracts for all the maintenance, all the facilities. We had 1 vendor come up yesterday, and then Bob's still working on calling other vendors
Now, go back, what is this for now?
to develop county complex service contracts. So we're all using the same vendor, and they come to the complex and manage all the buildings rather than doing, because we're all using this similar vendors and we have similar service contracts.
This is for this complex?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of service are we talking about?
Things for like HVAC, the fire alarm monitoring.
Okay, so various
contracts, yes ma'am.
Okay.
On Friday night, we needed to ship an inmate out to the hospital via an ambulance. The inmate was admitted to the hospital overnight and returned on Saturday. And then on Monday, we had to ship a different inmate out to the hospital via ambulance. They were admitted and returned to us yesterday. And that's all I have.
Okay. When is the next meeting scheduled for that
I keep that.
recidivism?
Good.
26th, October 26th,
The 26th?
Friday at
Okay, I got it.
1:30.
I got it, 1 o'clock. Okay.
1 o'clock, okay.
Okay, good.
October
Um, I don't know if it's necessary. I think you've made the point, or we have made the point. I'm not sure it's necessary that you have to report all that information
This year?
there
Okay.
every week. Maybe once a month or more, something like that, just to give us an idea as to, is there anything happening? I think it's important for that kind of information to go to that committee
Mhm.
and have that available for that meeting on the 26th, just to show what's happening. I'm not sure that the judge or anyone else knows how many times that these people repeat their offense.
Okay.
Okay? Is there any other information that we should get from the superintendent?
No, I'm just trying to put the date in so I'll be able to remember it this time.
Asha, would you inspect the jail next? Commissioner Solomon
yeah,
has.
so when-
I have.
So when is that?
Whenever
Is it
you.
in October?
Whenever you want to do it in the month of October.
Okay,
Okay? You don't have to call them and tell them when you are going to do it.
I just show
You
up.
just call them and say, I'm coming.
Okay.
And somebody there will take you around to wherever you want to go.
Okay.
And the jail is open. You can go any place, anytime you want to go there. And then write up some kind of a inspection
Okay.
report, okay? Jason, you got anything else?
Just a couple of security matters for non-public.
For non-public?
Yep.
Okay.
So 1 second, so I write up the inspection report and then what do I need to do with it? Send it out?
Kathy Gary will tell you where it goes.
Okay,
I think it goes to the Attorney General's office or
Yes.
the Attorney General's office, right?
Correct. Yep.
One goes there and one we keep on file. One goes to the jail. There's
Okay.
3 copies. Let's hold off the non-public for a few minutes unless you want to discuss it in public.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, okay. Ann?
It's not all cards.
I thought I'd bring you some happy news.
Oh, good.
One for each of you.
Thank you.
This is our income so far this year. We were ahead of last year by a full month's. The yellow highlighted area is the amount that's been given over to the county for the general fund so far this year. The number right under that is into the surcharge account. The numbers in blue are the amounts we've given to the state that we've collected for them. At this rate, we will exceed our expectations for...
As far as revenue?
Yes.
By 100,000?
80 or more thousand. I can't predict that the
Yeah,
next 3 months
yeah,
are going to be at the same
yeah.
volume, but we're already a good portion into October, and we see no sign of the let-up, so
Okay,
we're happy for...
great.
But just generally speaking, we're still not where we were the best of days.
No, but it's certainly...
Better than it has been.
We held level for a couple of years, and this is now showing...
So it's almost 600,000 that you...
We're right now at almost at 600.
And normally it's around 800,000?
No, we've been about 730, and I think that
Oh,
included the
730.
the surcharge. Last year, at the end of October, not the end of September,
Yeah,
we were not even meeting this. We were at 582, 420, so.
okay.
So, I don't know how long people can keep refinancing it. It's not all revenue, transfer tax.
Mhm.
If I look back at last year, like I said, those figures are for the end. It's pretty amazing that the same thing for the state's income last year was at the end of November. Now, okay, this is the figures I've given you, at the end of October. The figures I've given you are the end of September, 3/4 of the, but last year, at the end of October, the state had got 4,130,000, okay, versus we're already at 4,161,000.
Yeah.
So, their trend is also following our trend. Good.
Do you think other counties are doing the same?
I don't know. There's a publication called Real Data that keeps track of the data all over the state. They also have in there all the foreclosures all over the state, all the bankruptcies, all people, new corporations filed. They
Yeah.
do an awful lot of data, which covers the entire state. They've commented to me a couple of times that we seem to have survived better than most, but
Good.
we don't compare figures when we meet as a registry group for the state.
Nothing in general?
We
No
talk-
trends?
you know, well, trends, we were all going down, down, down. But yeah, it's,
Mhm.
for us, it gave us an opportunity to, in the registry, to do the archival work, which could not be done when we were recording the heavy volume we were recording earlier. I told you, you would know because you're president of the association, I nominated 5 members of my staff
Yep.
for a team award because of what we have accomplished and what they accomplish individually as people for good causes in their communities. And we have been selected not as the team award, but the Registry of Deeds Employee Award. They're giving it to all of them. So,
Not as a team award?
it's
I thought it was a team award.
well, what I was told.
Is this supposed to be kept a surprise?
No, because I
They
had to
know?
tell them all because
have to vote.
they all have to make plans to be up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Well, they were just shocked because they didn't know I had nominated or anything. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a nice thing to be able to do for your staff.
Yep.
I've never wanted to make that kind of a thing. I've nominated people like you,
Mhm.
which I knew I had a strong association with, and I knew enough about but to take one employee out of my group, we are a very small group, and we really work very
Yeah.
well together.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that, and so when somebody said, well, there is a team award, and so I went for the team. But
Yep. Yeah.
I still think they're giving it as a team, but it's to under registry employee of the state, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be given as a team.
Yep.
I think the awards committee was more, well, let's say that it was more difficult for anyone to receive an award this year than in the past. I think the awards
More
committee did a
applicants.
good job. Well, I think they looked at the applicants with a lot of detail and not just giving out an award for the sake
No.
of giving an award
No.
out. So I think that's a plus for
Very
your
nice.
registry of
They're
deeds.
very touched.
Yep.
Okay, they're very pleased. Speaking of which, I don't know that I need your permission, but I'd like to ask your permission that I can close the registry at 4 instead of 5 so that my employees can get up to the
Yes.
event. We have a
Well-
way of notifying the people who do come in on a regular basis that on that particular day,
Mhm.
we will close at 4 so that our employees can receive an award on behalf of the,
Is that
and
agreeable?
I think it'll be pretty well received
Agreeable?
by all our people, because we are
Yeah.
we have almost the same people who come in after 4, so,
Mhm.
but we will send it out to everybody who's on our email and
Okay.
fax list
Okay.
way in advance, but I thought I would
Yeah.
at least let
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
that.
just give them enough time.
Well, I will be probably doing it this week, so.
Good.
I'm really here because of the budget and I've already started doing
Mhm.
my planning. And the request was to try to keep it below 2%. And with that, I definitely have an issue. We have a few things that I'm having to deal with. One is, when I started 6 years ago, I made a proposal that we were going to double up on our books to give us more space to continue making the hard copy as well
Mhm.
as the having it on the computers. And we've continued to do that. We finished the project, and I'm going to be now having to not order for a full year, but part of the year, because this has enabled us to save a huge amount of money. I thought we would save in the vicinity of $60,000 over the. I didn't think it was going to last this long. We would be able to cover 6 years of books and shelving, and because of the economy and what it was, we did not use it all. But we will be using it up. The books will last us through half of next year, and the shelving will last us for most of next year. So, but that's going to be an additional cost that's coming back into the budget after being absent and being a savings over the last 6 years. And they've increased the salary for the register, so those couple of things are going to
They
make
did
me
that, so
off
that's-
without touching another thing.
Yeah.
Every year, I've done whatever you've asked, whether it was keep it at 1% and whatever, and I still get cut, so,
Mhm. Well, that's a general type thing, 2%. We'll look at it.
Yep.
And maybe reduce it some more. We don't know yet.
There's another issue, and I think it can fall under the equipment surcharge account.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with some safety issues. There have been issues in other registries. We've had a couple of uncomfortable situations ourselves with certain people that come in. We need to protect the staff a little bit better. It's been suggested by the safety committee that we put in cameras, and there's a door. Frequently, when you come through our door, there's a big flag, and right above that it says, "Go this way," okay? And invariably, my office is right in the middle of the fishbowl, and I mean my desk, and it used to be Pam got it. They would come up behind her. It was scary. They're coming right into the office, so we're going to put a security door there.
Oh, yeah.
I had an incident with a couple that I started with at the front desk, and then I let her come around to use my phone and talk to someone at the Secretary of State's office, and her husband became a little belligerent and came into me and I just kept trying to back him back that way. You can have some uncomfortable situations, and the best effort that we make is to reduce our voices when people get angry. We just keep going lower and lower, hoping to diffuse the situation, but the world is a little different right now.
Yep.
And, you know, we don't have any security for the building like you do going into the
Sheriff's office. Right.
Not the sheriff's. I mean, the sheriff's is really protected, but I'm talking about going into the courthouse across the street. No matter whether you're going to probate for a little innocent, you know, research or whatever, you go through the detectors. We have nothing, and we're probably, I know most of the registries are part of the building that also has the courts, and they actually have to go through security. I know I do at Belknap, I do it Rockingham, you do it at Merrimack, and Stratford. I haven't been to some of the others, but those that I have been to definitely have a little more security.
Which leads me, you have enough room in the registry? You're not lacking for space?
I'm more than pleased with my space. I mean, there's a handful of days in the whole year where all of my computers are tied up and people have to use the books. Well, good, we've got them. They can't say that. 12 stations for the public.
Full, wow.
You know, so there are days, especially a rather nasty rainy day, and surveyors who can't get out in the field are coming in. Well, just general people, you know.
On the security door you're talking about, is that floor-to-ceiling door you would?
No, Jerry's coming up with something, and he will do what he can without bearing costs. But we decided that the door where we let them do closings in one room, which we have 3 closing tables at, and that has doors on either end. He can make that second one, which comes into our area. You know, the other one is coming in from X. You can go to the vault, or you can go out.
Right.
But the one that actually has access to us can be permanently locked and can be opened from our side, but cannot be opened from their side.
Yeah. Okay.
And the door that he will put that kind of lets people know that this isn't public. Well, we do. We have all the plans. We let people in there all the time, but it's not the noise and disruption that we were getting when closings were closing in our space.
Yeah. You satisfied with the cleanliness of your area?
Yeah. We're pretty tidy.
I think it's great when you walk into the building and the floors are polished.
Yeah.
The bathrooms are clean. Jerry does a great job.
We probably should be nominating him for an award next year, because he does an excellent job of
He got an
all kinds of
award
things.
last year. He was awarded one last year.
That's right, I was up there.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember all that.
Anything else?
2 things, and they're really not really. I got into the safety. You've dealt with the budget. I've given you the good news. I talked to Daymond. The only reason I'm going to bring this up here is because so many people are listening to this on YouTube. There was a deed scam going on. People were receiving letters. I didn't hear from it for anybody right away. And when it first came out, I didn't want to make it a political issue. So I've let it, you know, it was in the Union Leader, it's been on the news and so forth. A company was looking very official, looking very governmental, was telling people that they all needed to have a copy of their deed on them, you know, not on them, but in their presence. And that these people would get them a copy of their deed for $85 or $83, whatever it was. And when you can call the registry and get a copy for $1 a page. And one of the attorneys came and said he had had 2 people call him. So I know that it's into our area now. So I just figured if anybody is listening and
So
knows
you've
this.
talked with the...
I did talk to Daymond about it.
All right, okay.
And I myself will probably put a letter to the editor because there hasn't been anything about it. I don't want to alarm people, but you know, when scams are out
Should be
there,
wary
It's
of
a
it.
warning, really.
yeah. And at the same time, take the opportunity to tell people that if they want to sign up for Property Fraud Alert, which also protects their property, which Dorothy learned how to do. It's very simple. You can sign up online, and I didn't bring the phone number with me.
Cost
but-
involved?
No.
No cost involved.
No, this is provided by the software company, the Fiddler, which was Corner before. They'll also be sponsoring your cocktail hour up at the
Okay.
association convention. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank
Any
you.
questions
Anybody
for
any
me?
questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep bringing the money in.
I don't have any control over it,
I know you don't.
unfortunately, but
I
I'm
know.
delighted to give you that good news.
Thank you.
Good news are always, it's always good to have.
Janice?
Just have a couple of
Morning.
updates to the public session. I don't know if you've seen, but the jail contract is signature ready now. Tom Clausen has emailed that, so that's all set.
Okay.
In terms of the team building exercises, I still need that information so I can.
Yes.
Okay. And documentation training, just who did you want to receive that training and what does it look like? Training on documentation?
I think you offer it to anybody and everybody.
Okay. There was no target audience?
Nursing home?
Okay. And we are having difficulty with our
Now, don't limit it
website.
to the nursing home.
Okay.
The jail maybe
Yeah.
too, but
Okay. I'm ready to roll with that.
It's actually for everyone, huh?
it's,
It's for
to
everyone.
everybody.
Okay.
but-
I think everyone
Okay.
needs to learn documentation.
I didn't know what you had in mind in terms
Mhm.
of parameters and how extensive you wanted me to get into that. But we are having issues with the website and have been in contact with Virtual Town Hall, and also I need John Rich from Cybertron to help us out because there's some actual server issues going on. I'm not able to access it all, even though I have now a password and username. I can't touch it. Things that were put on there are now disappearing or not accessible. So hopefully we'll have that wrapped up. In addition, we're going to have an on-site training for folks like Rob Horse for his cafe, because that menu is going to change daily. So in order, he really needs to be trained so he can just post what he needs to post up there. And I think that's it for the,
The budget is on there or isn't on there?
is on.
Website.
County budget is on the webpage or not?
There are 5, it's like a synopsis as opposed to the entire full budget.
We need to get.
Can we put the entire one?
We
up?
can, it's just, yes, we can, as soon as we can get it up and,
Let's do that.
okay.
Yeah.
It does take up a lot of space, but I don't think that's an issue with this site. I think we do have the available capability to do that. We're still working on the employee reference guide. It has gone out to all department heads. I was supposed to have it back a week ago. There's still 3 departments that I haven't heard from for their suggested changes, but as soon as I do, I'll get that right to you. That's all I have for
Okay.
now.
There is the issue with the website. Are the minutes up? The minutes are
I
not
don't
minutes.
think she's
Oh,
been able
okay.
to get them up.
Oh, okay.
Everything I go into to look at, once she says she's posted it, it gives me an error message.
Okay.
So I assume everybody else is seeing the same error
The same.
message. Applications for employment included, so. We do have a website, a job fair, veterans job fair, tomorrow, actually, down in Concord. Deb Newland is going, as well as, someone from the jail will be going. Deb will be taking applications for the nursing home, for LNAs and so forth, so we have all that ready to go. So hopefully it'll be a good turnout.
Okay.
Just the nursing home?
Nursing home, jail, and it's gone out to everybody. Whoever has hiring needs, let us know, and we'll be recruiting for those particular positions.
Let each of the commissioners know when you are interviewing for the MDS coordinator.
Yep.
How many applicants do you have?
There was a total of, I believe, we're up to 7. However,
Oh.
3 of them had absolutely no experience in that area at all, and it's highly specialized.
Yeah.
I would say there's 3 qualified applicants. And I spoke with my counterpart at Belknap County.
Mhm.
As you know, they also are searching for a nursing home administrator. He is having the same issues that we ran into with a very low number of applicants.
Yeah.
He has recruited in all the same periodicals and newspapers that we have, and I believe the same candidates have also applied for Belknap, so
Okay.
it's not a large pool out there.
Mhm. Are all departments up to the right level of employees?
No. The nursing home still has a shortage of LNAs and nurses. So we are still, and I believe the jail is down. You're all set? Okay.
Is there going to be a cost given for LNAs?
A cost?
A
Course.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Coming up?
I'm not sure when. I think
Currently underway.
Oh, it's underway.
It started 2 weeks ago.
13 people, I believe.
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. How many, do you know?
I think there are 13, whether or not how many we'll be able to recruit out of that group,
Right.
we don't know, but we're hoping for half.
Good. That's more than usual, I think.
It's quite a turnout.
Yeah. Okay. You have non-public?
I do.
Okay. Okay, we need to get through the minutes of last
Yeah.
week.
We actually need to go to the minutes
Before
from
we
the
go
week
non-public.
before. Let's see where the minutes go. September 26, 2012.
She's talking about the open minutes.
What are we talking about?
The minutes, the
October-
public minutes.
October 3rd, okay.
September 26, 2012.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2012.
May I know that I'm not going to vote on this, but I just do want to let you know that I did redo that entire set of minutes with as a suggestion of how to shorten and yet put in information that came out of the meeting.
So which one?
I don't know which one that, I suspect
Is
that
this
it's not
the-
the one I did.
This is the min. This is the set. What she wrote.
Is that the one you rewrote?
No,
This is not the one.
no,
Do you have the one you rewrote?
not with me, downstairs, yes. I read it to the camera and to those who were here.
Were there any
Basically,
major changes that you saw that?
I just took out a
Just
lot of
make it
stuff
shorter.
and reduced it to about a page and a half.
Well, the minutes, everything what is said was on the video.
Yeah,
It's
the-
accurate. We two were here, the minute taker was
Oh,
here, she wrote
so-
the minutes.
So it is okay to go and look at the minutes, I look at the video then, which is what I did, and you told me I couldn't do it.
I said the two commissioners were here,
I
the minute
understand.
I never said that you couldn't
Okay, okay.
watch the video.
There was
How
something.
did,
I did put in something that was not in the minutes. They referred to, it's referred to, I think it was Will's.
The only thing that you put in
Was a sentence.
the speeding, the
Yes.
speeding bomb.
Yes, and
You
I thought
wanted
that
to
was
put those
important to have it
speedings
in, have it in the minutes itself.
Because
I
she
think that's
doesn't
going to
write
come up
those
as
reports
a,
anymore when they coming. We just having the paper here, you see the report?
is your recommendation
And
to
we
wait
just
until
add
you
it.
get yours?
No, she
Here?
was not here.
I
She
was
was
not here,
absent,
so-
remember, she cannot
Right.
even vote.
so Commissioner Kenney doesn't think that I have any validity here, so I'm just telling you.
Okay.
So I will put in that by Will, that he wanted to have those speed bumps in.
I honestly don't remember if there were any corrections I made, other than that, but I did
I
make.
don't think there were any correction. The only thing what you did is shorten those, and you put Will the speed bumps in. But everything was said, it is accurate.
I'm assuming down at the next to the last paragraph, when he directly asked Commissioner, who's he, that must be Mr. Brown?
Well, you have you have, so what are you talking about?
Right here. Who is he? Because it doesn't refer to anything up above.
Yeah, above the gas. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
well,
sure it's probably
the
Mr. Brown.
names, the names, what we were doing in the past, we were just putting public, was a public comment, somebody from the public asked, so he didn't put the name in. But I think this set, I think they first, they have names in. Because you see, we had an issue with taking public input out, then had only questions in, then put condense it.
Okay, you make the motion?
I already made the motion.
All right, I'll second it. Any further discussion on September 26th minutes? If not, all those for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention.
We need to go. We have the minutes of last week, October 3rd, 2012. I think we gave the minute taker last week, she had a few minutes from a couple of years ago, how to shorten the public input or public comments. Commissioner Solomon recommended one sentence only. I think it is still longer.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, is there a possibility that the public could get a copy
About, the
of the
minutes.
minutes
from-
reading?
So you have no minutes there?
No minutes?
There were
Well, I
none,
can run down to get some minutes.
there were none down on the table
There
this
was no
morning?
minutes or agenda up here.
There weren't any
There
down
was
on the
nothing
table
there?
this
Oh.
morning?
I don't go in the office, I come up here to the meeting.
Oh, okay, I can go
Did you
get
get it?
some minutes.
No, but she's been bringing them up here. I didn't know the secretary
Oh,
wasn't here.
well,
so-
she is not here, she's absent today.
All right, well,
I will get some minutes.
You talk about it, and I'll get on and get some.
okay.
The minutes from October 3rd, 2012. Let me see, I had some notes here. By Commissioner Kenney. My statement, Commissioner Kenney stated that Commissioner Saul was absent last week, and I said I believe she will abstain when a vote is taken. And I think she put in motion. So that. I see she actually put whole statements in long sentences. She didn't even shorten it like you actually asked, Commissioner Solomon asked to shorten it a little bit. I don't know, what do you think of these sets of minutes, Commissioner Solomon? Because last week you gave the minute taker a couple of copies of, yes. It is still longer. The sentences are still long. But I also see that she left my statement out. And if we have no public input, she put statements in from a couple of members of the public, but she didn't put from everyone in. She didn't put in from Daymond. He had an important statement about he was reviewing the video. And I had a statement when Commissioner Solomon rewrote the minutes. I had a statement. My statement is left out. So I like to have my statement in. Daymond's statement in.
What statement is that?
The statement about that it was a talk about minutes. But she said she rewrote the whole sets of minutes, and I said you can write it different ways. Every time you have another minute taker, she will write it different. And if she will write it, she will write it her way. I will write it my way.
You know,
And it is about the minutes needs to be accurate and the content needs to be correct. Did you have
So I
something
wasn't
to say?
here, so where are we?
I don't, I'm trying to check, check these minutes with, well, anyway, I have a lot of corrections to the minutes. I can't even find
I have
all
also
the places
some.
where I...
My statements
we-
are left out.
Can we go into non-public and come back and do the minutes?
Sure.
Okay? Before we do that,
Yeah.
do we have any public input? Yes, Mr. Babson?
While my blood pressure is going up, on these minutes that you just accepted,
Well,
I believe Commissioner Kenney brought up the point that I made, that if it were important enough to put in what the public comment would be, you ought to put the name in. Is that correct?
yeah.
Is that
She says
correct, or
yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
So the names were added in here, is that the idea?
Yeah, they are added. Do you have October 3rd?
Yes,
Because
I
the names are there. I see your
No,
name.
I have October 26th, which is what I was talking about.
September.
September.
September 26th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that the names are added last week, October 3rd. There are the names. I think October 26th has no names, has only
September
public.
26th.
But you just accepted them.
Yeah.
So
Without
they
any
were
names.
drafts, so why didn't you put the names in it?
Without any names.
Why? And that was the suggestion that was made last week, and you put these things on hold.
Because Commissioner Sorensen was not here. But in this set of minutes, October 3rd, we have the names.
But that's not the point, Commissioner. They're in these minutes, and my point was, whether it was me or anybody else, if it's important enough to put in what the public question is,
I
it ought
know.
to be, excuse me, it ought to be important enough to put the person's name on, and we brought that up last week, and you were gonna discuss that in this week's minutes before you accepted them, and you already accepted them. And you didn't do it. The second point is, there was quite a discussion, under Mr. Murray and your non-public session that you were gonna go into to discuss locking automobiles, which doesn't have anything to do with non-public, and it isn't excluded under 91A. And I said that it ought to be, I thought it ought to be noted here, so that you have some kind of historical record, how many times the public is claiming that they shouldn't be in non-public, or you should be, and it isn't here.
Mr. Babson, at the beginning of the meeting that day on the agenda, I questioned it too. I asked Commissioner Sorensen, why is the safety committee coming? Why are they coming into non-public?
So where are we? You want a correction to the minutes?
I wanted an addition that said there was quite a discussion here in the minutes that 2 weeks ago about going into non-public session to discuss a policy to lock your automobile.
Okay. So you want that added to those
I would
minutes?
like to have it, or it should have been.
It
It won't get in this, it won't get into the proper one, it'll be a week later or 2 weeks later now.
Okay.
was requested.
Anything further?
Yes. 2 weeks ago, you assured the public here that when it came time to discuss this policy with Mr. Chandler on the priority list.
Right.
You just had it today and you didn't ask the public, and I can tell you, honestly, I feel I was better prepared to ask the questions than any of the three of you that didn't seem to ask any important questions about this list.
What kind of questions do you have that you feel is
Well,
more important?
I thought we were gonna go over the list of 14 points and some of the other questions on the back part. We didn't.
You want to go over them right now? It's
Well,
public input.
We'll do it next week.
Do it next week, but if you're gonna include the public, let's include them. And the last thing I have here.
I just have one question, Mr. Babson. Are you prepared to go over that at this point?
I got mine, you have yours?
No, I don't. I told you that.
Okay, thank you.
But I have no, I don't, if you want to go over it now, I don't see any problem with it.
Well, why don't we wait till you get yours and you have your notes at home?
And you got people waiting, so.
And you got people waiting, and let's please include the public if you say you're gonna do it. This county distribution, I can see why there's nobody objecting to it, because I don't believe there's anybody that even understands what's on here. I wouldn't want to embarrass anybody by asking any questions, because I certainly don't know the answers, and I'm sure you don't. And I think somebody ought to find out how this system works. Probably we could figure out what a 3-year billing history is if we knew what the billing was, what that was about. Non-targeted credit. There's all kinds of information. I don't know how you can object to it if you don't understand what it's all about. And I certainly don't after looking at it, and I don't believe the three of you do.
I have not heard anybody at the state level objecting to it.
And probably
From
all
any
the
other
same
counties.
I just, one point I would make is that it was told to me that the people, that the counties agreed to this because it cut down on paperwork that was costly in itself, time-consuming and costly.
Well, that may be, Commissioner Solomon, but who in this county could Kathy Garrity come up here right now and explain this thing in its entirety to us?
We'll look at it for next week.
I don't believe she could. And it's nobody's fault. It's just typical of what comes out of Health and Human Services, a lot of figures with no explanation. And
Yep.
it's nobody's fault except.
Same is true for that $300,000 extra billing we got from the state last year.
Right. So I think somebody ought to get some idea of what's going on here. Two more. I was the one that said a long time ago that it didn't see much point in having Jason come in and go over the list of. But I think it's important that he give you each week the number of inmates that are in the facility so that we can have a history of if June a big month or December a big month or whatever. And the last question.
We'll give you credit for that, Mr. Babson.
I'm not looking for credit, I'm just saying I think
Okay.
that we're wasting a lot of time on, we now know that they come back all the time,
Yeah.
those that really like the place. The last one is it bothers me that we have Ms. Sullivan sitting here for the whole meeting when she's just 2 doors down, unless you feel it's really necessary.
Excuse me?
to.
You mean,
He's talking about the resource
you mean the resource person,
Yes,
Janice,
director.
not Miss Solomon.
Well, I thought it said Sullivan on here. but
Oh,
maybe-
Sullivan. I'm sorry, I misheard you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And, is it Sullivan?
It is
Sullivan, yes, that's correct.
I didn't think I couldn't read.
No, I just misheard
But,
you.
it's just 2 doors down, unless there's something going on here that she needs to have all this information to do her job.
Well, I think what Mr. Howard talked about, the MDS coordinator applications, the resource person is involved in that. If anything comes out that she feels she should be looking at from the other department heads, I have no problem. She's only been here for an hour and a half. I don't think that's a great deal of time wasted. Go ahead.
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Damon.
I was looking at my calendar here, and today's the 10th, and then if no decisions are made or let me back up. Today's the 10th. If a decision were made on the 17th to hire a administrator for the nursing home, and then giving them 2 weeks, you get right down to the last day in October,
So,
which I believe is when the contract for the interim administrator expires.
The contract that I understand expires when we hire a new administrator, a permanent administrator.
Okay, I thought,
Or notice, proper notice is given.
I thought there was something about a deadline at the end of the month,
Mm-mm.
or there's some imperative where where a decision had to be.
The important thing right
Done
now
quickly.
is the running of the nursing home and also the budget. The survey is passed, and unless there are problems at the nursing home, the next important item would be on the budget. Anything else,
Nope.
Maureen?
A couple of things. I asked the two commissioners that were here last week, but you weren't. How was the computer downstairs working for checking your emails, since you aren't getting them at home anymore?
I went on again this morning before we came up, checked to see what was on that had not been taken care of, or at least looked at last week. Looked at everything that was on there, conferred with Commissioner Sorensen, who was in the office at the time, about issues that were on there. Seems to be working.
Good.
We can announce that, right? That's not, she's looking at the same thing.
Yeah, I brought,
We can announce
I brought
that.
it last week, but yeah.
It's not,
I brought it in last week. I'll make a copy for everyone.
oh, so everybody's got a copy?
Yeah, well, the commissioners,
I have
I think the
several
Board of
copies of this
Commissioners. You were absent last week.
Yes, right.
And I brought it in last week. And I
So
gave the
does the
board.
general public aware of this?
The 91A? Oh, you mean if I read it to the public? I didn't read it to the public. I just said I
Alright.
had a couple 91As because a lot of people filing 91As and it
You've
states
got
in the
more than this
office.
one? Do you have more than this one?
Well, I had last week, I had two also. I think they are downstairs. But
Okay.
we have more 91As coming in and it states in the office. You never said how you want to handle it, if I need to read it or not. And we have a couple 91As that stays in the office, the people getting their information, and they give it to the people.
Okay. Since I brought it up, we did have a request from the sheriff regarding 91A and regarding David Myers. Just to let you know that we received a 91A request from the sheriff and what he's looking for. Anything else?
But I wasn't done.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It was just a question as to how, so email is now functioning correctly, you all are getting your emails
We
Mhm.
have emails here
in
at
the
the
office?
county.
Okay. I'll just go over two more things quickly, I actually had a list. I want to reiterate, first of all, I want to make a comment because I feel I was instrumental in making sure that every lift got put in the rooms when the building was being built.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to reiterate how important it is to every year put it in the budget that we buy a couple more, because not only is it important that the residents,
That's the
for the
employees
residents'
too.
safety and comfort, but it just so helps with the employees' backs. So don't delay on this. If he's got the information, we've got the money,
Mhm.
buy him. It's important,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
it can save you a huge amount of money.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
we're
then the
waiting for
other-
his bids to come in.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just.
the other thing, well, I'm going to bring it up every week until you make a decision, because it's
Well,
important.
we can't make a decision until we.
Right, I
issue
understand
something,
that,
yeah.
but I'm just
Mhm.
telling you that, so we have a paper trail or a computer
Yeah.
trail or a TV trail. I want to just make sure
Yeah.
that everybody knows that you guys are working on it. And then the other thing is about the walking trail. I had emailed your office. I think I sent it to Debbie because I didn't have yours. I had done up a little synopsis for for you guys to follow up on, to post,
Mhm.
to form a committee,
Right.
to start working on the trail, 'cause it's
I-
gonna take some time and some work.
Yeah, I understand that it was either after 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, the meeting, that the Boy Scouts have come forward and are willing, are really excited about participating in that trail, whether they're building a bridge or the stations or whatever. Mr. Brooks has been instrumental in getting them on board. Do we know where there is any application put in for the AmeriCorps?
I have the AmeriCorps application, and I was gonna try to fill it out, but I really don't feel like that's my job or the Friends of Mountain View's job. That's why I'm saying I really think that it's important for the complex to put a committee together
Mhm.
to take this over. I mean, we suggested the idea, we mapped out the trail, we raised the money. I think we've done our part as a
Mhm.
nonprofit. I think it now needs to go to the county, and you guys need to take the ball and run with it
Okay.
as it may.
The-
So I did send a little blurb to the Human Resources. I also sent it to Kathy Gary. So you can either put it in people's paychecks, so everybody knows if they're not checking the web. You do an announcement, a newsletter, post it, however you guys want to get it
Yeah.
out there. But please don't drop the ball on this.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
winter's coming, you can do a lot in the winter.
It's my understanding that on AmeriCorps, one of the I don't know whether it's a request or a requirement, that the person, that we need to house the person who
I
comes
told you
in.
that. The only request they have is however many people come, they just need a place to stay while they're working.
I understand that. My question then would be, I think before we can accept them, and say, yes, we would love to have you, that we have a lineup of people who will be willing to house these young people.
Well, Commissioner Solomon, that's exactly why I'm suggesting that you guys, I don't feel like I should
Okay.
fill out the application. That's why I'm saying, I'd like to hand the ball to you.
I
I've done
understand.
everything, the group's done everything
It makes sense.
that we can
yes.
do. We've handed you a package.
You got the
It's pretty ready
application?
to run.
You
You
got
can get
the
it off the web, yes, but I
Okay.
also have a paper trail
Okay.
that you can,
Yes, okay.
that's why I'm saying, we've done what we can do. and
Yeah,
now
I just
you
want
guys
to
need
make sure
take
we
it and-
understand what our
Yeah.
commitments are.
We've
Okay.
done a lot, so you guys need to figure out the next steps, and so you
Mhm.
can control that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ed?
2 weeks ago, Bob Murray came in concerned about the locked vehicles.
Yes.
It seems like there was resistance this morning about making this an official policy, voting on it to make it official policy. Are you going to vote?
I have no problem.
What?
I have no problem voting on it.
No problem
Voting on it?
voting on the policy that was presented?
Yeah.
You have a problem voting on the policy, Commissioner Kenney? I just felt
have to
that,
read the
that it was a
policy.
recommendation and that we could highly recommend that they keep their doors locked. But I don't feel we need to go in and checking to make sure they're locked, and then what kind of disciplinary action are we going to take? To me, if they don't, it's their own personal item. If they feel they can leave it unlocked, then they're subject to whatever happens to it. I know there's another county that has it, and apparently after 2 or 3 violations, they're terminated. I find that kind of hard to fathom termination on somebody that it's their own responsibility to take care of their own property. That's my feeling. Go ahead.
Well, if there's ever a situation, they're going to ask, do you have a policy? And you're
Who's going to ask?
If there's ever an incident where somebody
Yeah.
breaks into a car or somebody gets hurt, they're going to say, did the county have a policy? And you're going to say, no, we never put it into official policy.
Yeah, I don't know that we could still have a policy without necessarily having a procedure to fire someone if the policy is not.
But there has to be some kind
Yeah,
of disciplinary
yes, it doesn't
action
have to be.
taken.
But
We
who's
don't
gonna
have to have
check?
it as
Hmm?
firing.
You're gonna go check cars every
Yeah.
day?
I'm
How
not
are you
going
gonna
to.
enforce that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that they had some rationale, some reasonable rationale coming up with the policy in the first place. Do we need to have, we probably need to have some sort of stated policy, what will happen if you don't, because it's not just their cars that are in jeopardy here, but it is the county, as I heard, they suggested that if you have an open car, somebody coming out of the jail, a resident who may have some dementia issues, could go into the car. I mean, any number of things could happen. So maybe we need to have something short of a termination as a finality to this, but certainly we should have something.
To help answer your question, I would ask Commissioner Solomon to review that policy and come up with something that is acceptable to her and to the three of us. Okay? Go
My
ahead.
final question is, you received 91A requests on the 2nd and the 3rd.
Yes.
Did you respond in writing for the one on the 2nd?
The second, no.
Well, you're in violation of the 91A law at this point. My question is the Superior Court across the street? Is that where the Superior Court is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be visiting that Superior Court to put in a formal complaint that you have not responded to the one on the 2nd.
I didn't have a written response.
But the law states
Was
that
it-
you're supposed to respond in 5 business days.
Yeah, but I had no written response. But I just made a phone call. Because you have to know, things are asked here, and the minutes where I ask it, the minutes are all sealed, they are not released. What he's asking for non-public information, they all sealed and not released. So I made the phone call, and I said the minutes are all sealed, they are not released. I didn't have a written response.
Janice.
If I could add, the request was dated the 2nd, but not received by anyone, not sent until the 5th, which was Friday. Monday was a holiday. Response went out yesterday, asking for additional time to gather all the documentation.
Are they stamped in?
Yes,
And it was received on the 5th?
on the 5th,
Oh,
on
was-
Friday. It was dated the 2nd, but did not come through the computer until the 5th.
Okay. What about the one from the 3rd?
The one from the third, the information is downstairs in the office.
And when was that received?
What-
You said
what's
it was
the one-
received on the 3rd.
The one, the third, was received on the third.
But was it checked in on the 3rd, or was it checked in later?
No, it was on the third. I received it on the third.
Well, that's due by the end of this day.
Yeah, that's what I said. The paperwork is downstairs in the office.
Okay, thank you.
David?
The sheriff put in a 91A request, and I was just wondering if we can get a copy of it.
Not until we respond, or not until we get the information that he's requesting.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes?
I don't know the law all that well, but is the request non-public also, or can that be public?
Hmm?
I would think the request would be public.
I think so.
The answer might
It doesn't
not be.
say that it is non-public, I'll agree with you.
He could very well have come and read the damn thing.
So you'd like to see a copy of it?
I would. Thanks.
Anything further? In public comment? If not, we need to
Oh,
go to,
one more. What's the status of all the grievances? Have we resolved those yet?
We have.
they're in the works, let's put it that way.
All three, or
Which three are you talking about?
well, there's Reed, there's
That's not,
Perry.
that's not a grievance. That's a request for 91A.
well, there's the original Reed grievance from. Hold on, I was just looking at a copy. There was a Reed grievance from the winter.
There's a what?
The
Reed
Reed grievance from
first one.
the winter, and then there was and then there was the
Woodburn.
Woodburn and then Perry.
All three of which we can't say anything about.
All right, say it again. Woodburn and who else?
Woodburn, Perry, and Reed.
And Reed?
Yes,
Robin Reed.
Robin Reed.
And your question was?
I'm wondering if the grievances, if any of them are settled, or are they done? Are you done with them yet?
You mean the investigations?
The answer is
The
a no, yes.
investigations are done.
Okay. And there's nothing to be released out of any of them? It's all,
At this time.
okay.
So we are told.
Anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Then, Jason, I guess, Mr. Chandler, you don't have anything in non-public, do you, or do you? You do. Okay, we'll take you first. And your reason for non-public?
Personnel.
Personnel? Okay, I'll make a motion that we go into non-public for personal reasons at the nursing home. Jason, and yours is also security?
Security, yes.
And we'll follow that up with security at the jail. Don't hear a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Kenney, yes. Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes, then so voted.
10-20.
Do you edit the film?
No.
It's not edited. It's shown exactly as it's
From the time you
presented.
say, from the morning when you say it's 8:30, we're starting the date of the meeting
Till the end.
to the end.
Okay.
I mean, I'm running it now because we're back in public.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, good to know.
Do we have anything else to bring up?
Yeah, I'm finishing up these minutes.
All right, we got one more session on minutes.
All
The
right.
only thing what we're doing is last week.
Yeah, this is last week's minutes. I've made the corrections. It perhaps would be easier, I don't know which one you wanted. I've made the correction. I had copied my own copy at home, so I made the corrections at home
On October 3rd?
on October 3rd.
Okay.
I've now also made the corrections on the copy that you just gave me. You can have either copy that you want.
Yeah, okay.
Those are my corrections.
Okay, so is it grammar, what you mean?
Some of it is, certainly a lot of it is grammar and spelling,
Okay.
but there are some issues for clarification.
Okay. And I already said that my statements are not in, that I want to have my statement
What
in.
statements do you feel have to be in?
I already said, let's see.
You copy down every
statement-
statement you make?
No, but you said something about you rewrote the minutes, and I think I already talked about it, what I said, that is what I want to have in. And I think
You already have that in.
Hmm?
You already have that in.
No, it is not there, it is some,
It
what I
says,
said about how how
Ms.
everyone
Commissioner
is
Kenney
writing the
states that
emails.
Commissioner Solomon was absent at last week's meeting, and Commissioner Solomon will abstain when a motion is taken. Commissioner Kenney was going to table the minutes because Commissioner Sorensen is absent at today's meeting. What else did you say that's pertinent?
I said about the minutes, that everyone is writing it different.
Well, is that absolutely necessary to put in?
It is, yeah, it is necessary. I think I already read it or not. Yeah, I already said it at a public meeting before
I'm
going
not
into
contending
non-public.
that you didn't say it. I'm just saying,
Right,
for
that
the
you can-
benefit of what we are doing, is that
It is
pertinent?
important. We can write it different ways. Every
Okay.
time we have a new
Fine.
minute taker, just
If your
write it her
pearls
way.
of wisdom
I already
have to be
said
in
it,
there, fine.
So I already said it. And Daymond had also a statement that he reviewed a video from August 22nd. His statement is not in.
We did decide now to put statements in from the general public.
Well-
that is what we have in here.
What I did was,
Look,
when I
that is
took,
what we were
I know,
talking
I know.
about.
I said, did we
So you-
decide?
when I
Yes.
was downstairs with,
But briefly.
when I was downstairs with Michelle,
Yeah.
I showed her the minutes from 2007, 2008,
Mhm.
and 2009, and in it, it has person's name, and it's no more than 2 sentences ever about what their public comment was. You know, I said, just if this is, something that'll make the public happy, we can do this.
Okay,
But make it concise.
okay.
Figure out what it is that they were, the point that they were making, and put it in. And you know what? After that, we don't have to make any comments about what we said in return. Just put in what the comment was made by the.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to give this to the minute taker.
So you're gonna,
Because, she's going to do it.
Well, do you
Michelle,
need both of
come
those
back.
copies? Oh, I have one. Oh, never mind.
all right,
No,
so you're
this
gonna
is
make,
mine.
you're
This
gonna
is
make the
yours.
corrections?
Yeah, she's going to make it.
She did.
The minute taker is going to do
Oh,
it.
she's gonna make it,
Yeah,
okay.
so she's going to do it, yeah.
All right, so we're all set? We approve it as
Yes.
corrected?
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve the public minutes of October 3rd, 2012 as corrected.
I'll second that.
I wasn't here, so I won't vote. But,
Yeah, abstain.
any further discussion on those minutes? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't here. Motion carries. Will we have any other business to bring up this morning? Or it's now this afternoon?
Let's see, was something else, just a second. Oh, I wanted to put on camera. I'm sorry that there's nobody else here at the moment, but I did want to put on camera for the public to be aware of something. NACO, you told me.
Yeah?
NACO, the National Association of Counties,
Mhm.
has a dental plan that is inexpensive for people to buy into. However, the dental plan has to have dentists that are participating. Carroll County, at the present time, does not have any participating dentists. It would be fine if people would like to go to their private dentist and ask them if they would like to participate in this program. They would get more people coming to their office, and people would get a good plan that they could afford to buy into. Dental work is very important to your good health, so this might be a good way of dealing with that situation.
In fact, the person responsible for that program is going to be at our annual meeting on the 22nd, I believe. He may not be, it doesn't look like he's on the agenda. This is a draft of the agenda, but the individual responsible for the dentist program will be there and can inform us as to how we can go about asking a dentist to participate in the program. And what is it, $59 a year for a single person and $69 for a family plan?
Which is very reasonable.
Yes. Yep.
So if the public would like to get themselves involved in this plan, they could go out and solicit their own dentist to become part of this project.
They're going to need some information
Yes, certainly that.
to take with them.
And we
but-
would, so as we get more information, we'd be glad to do that. But
Yeah.
they could start the process by feeling out their their dentist at this point.
Do we have anything else to bring up this afternoon?
No, that's it.
Do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right.
That's it.
Then I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting of, what day is today? The 10th, October 10th.
October 10th.
12:52.
All those-
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So voted. This concludes our meeting of October 10th.
Thank you.